Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk to you about the benefits of living in a small town, particularly the benefits of retirement living in a small town. I live in a small town that's just outside of a medium-sized city. In fact, I live outside the city limits of this small town, which is just outside of a medium-sized city. And there are some particular benefits to living in a small town area. And when you think about small town living, it speaks to simplicity, slower living, affordability, a sense of belonging and community and things like that. And so whether you're already retired or right in the middle of your retirement planning, or you're just thinking about where you might go to live in the next chapter of your life, living in a small town has some surprising and very powerful benefits that it can offer you. So let's walk through those together. Here's 7 benefits of retiring in a small town. Number 1, there is a lower cost of living when you live in a small town. Now, let's just start with the obvious here. Your money goes a lot further in a small town. Your money goes a lot further when you live in an area where the cost of living is lower. In small towns, housing is typically more affordable. Gas, groceries, dining out, these kind of expenses are typically less expensive across the board. And you can often live just as well, if not better, for thousands of dollars a year less than if you lived in a more expensive area. That means you could retire sooner, or it means that you could stretch your retirement income for more years without having to stress about how far your money is going to go. The basic rule of thumb is the further out you go, the lower the cost. And the area where I live, that's true, and we have very low property taxes. I get a homestead exemption on my home. So there really are a lot of benefits of living in a small town, and the first one is just a lower cost of living across the board. Number 2, small town living offers a slower pace of life, and when you reach a certain age, you're ready to slow down, and small town living is perfect for that. One of the biggest things that people noticed after retiring or moving to a small town is the pace of life and how simple and slow things are. And there's a lot more stillness and quietness. There's less of a rush. There's less traffic. There's no dashing out the door to go somewhere. You start to remember what it's like to actually wake up in the morning to enjoy your day instead of racing through your day or being stuck in traffic all the time. Number 3, another real benefit of retiring into a small town is that there is a sense of community that may be missing in a larger area. Small towns offer the benefit of a sense of connection with other people, something that many people miss out on in larger cities or metropolitan areas. A lot of the people will recognize you. They will wave. They care. They check on their neighbors. Whether it's your neighbors or people at your church or the guy at the hardware store, people begin to recognize you and maybe even get to know you by name. And if that's an important aspect to you, then this is something to consider in your own retirement planning or considerations. Number 4, small town living, especially in retirement when we're older and less physically strong, offers a safer environment than larger cities. Now, many small towns are safer. They have a more peaceful environment, especially for retirees. Typically speaking, and it's not absolute, but there is a lower crime rate. You have fewer crowds, fewer strangers, and there's an overall better sense of security. You might even see some people leave their doors unlocked. That used to be a thing of the past. It's not so common nowadays. But you'll see in small towns that people will allow their children or their grandchildren to ride their bikes freely through the neighborhood or down the country lanes. So, admittedly, crime reaches every area of American life, but typically speaking, a small town has less crime. And for me, that's very important. Number 5, small towns offer a better nature and beauty as opposed to living in a concrete jungle. If you're someone who loves trees instead of traffic, being able to see the stars at night instead of street lights, then small town living delivers. It really does. Furthermore, you're closer to things like trails, lakes, rivers, access to water, beaches, sunrises, fresh air, sunsets. You know, when you live in an urban area and there's tall buildings, you just can't see into the distance, and you can't see sunrises. So small town living offers a much better opportunity towards nature and beauty, and for me, that's very, very important. When you live in a small town and you're surrounded by nature, in fact, even where I live, I have a wood line around my property on 3 sides. Your surroundings begin to feel like a retreat instead of a place that is a rat race. So that's another important thing to consider. Number 6, another benefit of living in a small town, especially if you're retired, is small towns offer simpler pleasures. Small towns have local charm. You have things like farmers markets and old diners, mom and pop shops and country living, high school games on Friday nights, free concerts. I've mentioned this before, but in the area where I live, there's free concerts all through the summer. One is held right down on a river that runs through the middle of town on Friday nights. It's called Bands on the Blackwater. And then on Tuesday nights down at the beach, they have bands on the beach. And so you can just be surrounded by beautiful nature and the most gorgeous of outdoor scenery and surroundings, and then enjoy just free concerts and free music. What's not to like about that? And that is one of the benefits that small town living offers, is simpler pleasures. Number 7, and I think this is important to me, small town living offers, I believe, better emotional health. When you have less noise pollution, less light pollution, less pressure, and a stronger sense of belonging as you are surrounded by the outdoors and nature, many retirees find that they're not only living less expensively or cheaper, they are living better. And I'm living better too. You have more time for walking down country lanes and less traffic. There's less anxiety. You have a slower heartbeat. You have space to think, to pray, to breathe, to enjoy yourself. In fact, I checked my blood pressure yesterday, and guess what it was? It was 120/80. Can you say, Ronnie, you're retired? Now, speaking of noise, that's a wind chime hanging on my front porch, and I apologize for the bell sound in the background, but the video aside, my wife and I really love that wind chime that we have on the front porch, and it is tuned to the key of A. Fantastic. So those are my 7 reasons why it might be beneficial, 7 benefits of living in a small town. But let me wrap this up with a bonus tip. Small towns are not perfect. Know why? Because people live there. That's why. There's a lot of other things that have a downside to small towns. You might have to drive a little bit further for health care. You might have to drive a little bit further for shopping. The entertainment options might be fewer. And yes, we have movie theaters nearby. But for a lot of people, that's exactly the trade-off that they want. Less hustle and bustle and less noise. So if you've ever thought about making a move to a small town, let me assure you that it is fantastic. Now, I don't live 50 miles out in the country. I live in a rural type area, and I can be to immediate health care within 20 to 30 minutes. I can be down at the coast within a half hour as well. I have quick or immediate access, so I'm not having to drive 60 miles to get anywhere. So again, if you've ever thought about living in a small town, I would say don't just look at the numbers. Look at the lifestyle that it has to offer. Lower money, less stress, community, a sense of belonging, a slower pace, surrounded by nature, all sorts of things. It is the peace, the people, and the purpose that you can find in a small town that makes all the difference in the world. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about living in a small town yourself? Well, think about it. I'd love to hear your response in the comment section down below. I'd like to say thank you for stopping by with me today. I'll see you next time in the next video. I'm Ronnie, and until then, stay resilient, my friends.